QR code. So this QR code is for somebody who wants to follow along, but since I have it as a shared screen, we don't have to really take that into consideration. Basically, it's if I'm doing like a big screen TV or something. So today you're going to be learning top online threats, identity theft, and how to stay protected. This is kind of one of those that are close to my heart, the cyberbullying. You know, you look at the age groups on it and you think, oh, well, it's just the teenagers. Not necessarily. Here's your stats. And when I read the stats, it's amazing that, you know, 37%. I would have thought the number was higher, but you know, between 12 and 17 have been bullied online. Would you think it would be higher or lower than that number? So,
what are you saying, darling?
I thought the percentage for teens would have been higher than 25%. And a 75% is where it seems to be a very high for Facebook to get such a big share, but it's not surprising. But I'm also surprised it's not Twitter, but Facebook.
yeah. Two out of three tweens were the victim of cyberbullying. Yeah. I would have thought 3 out of 3, but yeah, 2 out of 3 is pretty high too.
Yeah.
The 25%, that kind of threw me off. The teens who are bullied online have experienced face-to-face confrontations. Only 25%? Or these are also reported numbers too. So take those into consideration. These may have flexed a little bit with the actual reported versus the amount. So 41% of adults are cyberbullied. Adults getting cyberbullied. Amazing. So 1 in 10 teen victims of cyberbullying will inform a parent. That number needs to be a little bit higher. You need to be able to trust your parents just a little bit. Okay, so here's what to look for. You know, if they're normally an outgoing kid, now they're all of a sudden they're withdrawn. They're not engaging in things. You ask, how was your day? Yeah, fine. Off to the room. Act aggressively. If they're normally the shy, quiet type and all of a sudden they're acting out, something's going on. Then well, not really the obvious, but getting into more trouble at school. Yeah, because that's typically where it's happening. It's happening at school or it's happening online and it's delving into school. So the attempt self-harm, that one's a little scary. Have stopped using the computer or other devices that they previously would. Yeah, if you're traumatized by that, I could see how they would be like, I don't want to be on the computer. I don't want to go on the games because I don't want it to happen again for the most part. Start hanging out with a new group of friends suddenly. Now, is it because the old ones were the ones that were doing the cyberbullying? You don't know. It may be because I feel more comfortable with this new group. So it's just things to kind of be aware of, not necessarily to, you know, hey, you're acting weird, so you must be getting bullied. That's going to have the opposite effect of what you actually want. You just want to first just kind of get an idea, kind of feel the situation out before you actually jump in and say, because you may get them to totally just turn completely off and not even tell you anything. And you don't want that. You want that communication. So your cyberbullying protection, know the risk and communicates. Understand what cyberbullying is and how to spot it. Child stays away from interaction, makes them feel bad and sad, have a conversation. What's, you know, those boundaries, even not necessarily just the physical boundaries, those online boundaries too. keep the computer in a common room. Most kids, they want to go into their room, shut the door, and then that's it. But, you know, not necessarily having to be being the helicopter mom over the shoulder. Well, let me see all your passwords. That's just going to draw them in more. So kind of have that fine line. Set the amount of time your child is allowed to spend online. Now, with every age group is different. You know, some of them are, you know, the younger ones probably necessarily not going to have as much screen time because they have more homework. The older ones, they do all their homework and stuff online. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, you have 30 minutes. But you can, you set your boundaries with your kids. You know what works for them and what they need to have done. Social media accounts. Now, I'm finding out from friends who some of these social media accounts, you've got to be 14, 15 to actually even access an account. You've got 10-year-olds that are saying they're 15. So I'm watching out for that too. You know, how did you hear about that or whatever? And they'll slip and say, oh, I saw that on TikTok. I saw that on Facebook. Oh, wait a minute. How did you get access to that? Oh, and then you either get the, what did I walk into that one? But you also have to say, you know, you're not old enough to be on these accounts. This is, you know, and, you know, explain to them why, because there are these creeper predators that are looking for those teenagers. You know, have a plan in place for what you do if your child gets bullied online. Now, knowing who the person is that's bullying, that's an upper hand to it. If somebody's on there as a fake name, as somebody's on there as a screen name, it's a little harder to find out who the actual person is that's bullying. So that's something that you've got to be mindful of too. It's, you know, these people, yes, they're going to do it. These people that are doing these screen names and just, you know, doing it just to get a rise out of people, that's another thing. So just be mindful of those. And here we come into the online predators. Who has seen the movie, I just drew a blank with the movie. The one about trafficking, Sound of Freedom?
Yeah,
Who has seen that one so far?
I've not seen it, but I just heard about it recently.
I keep wanting to see it. It's just a matter of just the timing. Just getting into a theater and watching it. So here's your stats with your online predators. 80% of child sex crimes arise from social media. That's astounding. That number is huge, considering 14% of kids have met online predators in person. 14%. Wow. Teenagers say that they, you know, 1 out of 5, I believe, on that one is. My screen kind of blanked out on that one. So 20% of kids have been sexually solicited online. 20%. So almost 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, basically. 66% of online predator victims are female. I won't say that's a given, but that's usually what the case is. You know, you've got the creeper guys who are looking for the little teenage girls, which it's just, in my mind, it's just creepy anyway. 1 in 7 are contacted by an online predator. So it's keeping an eye on what social media accounts are on, who they're talking to. You know, they have this new friend that they met where did you meet him, and things like that. Because every once in a while I'll be seeing this online. This one met somebody, they went out of town, didn't ever know him before, and kidnapped him, and 6 months later you find him, somewhere. That's just, that's not what always happens, but happens. The online predators are how they attack, how they communicate with your children, what types of interactions are okay and which ones are not. Talk to everybody has some form of communication with their children. Talk to your children about the risk of the chat rooms. And then the thing, if they're less than 15, why are they in the chat rooms? They shouldn't be having access to them anyway. Even 15, I think, is still, even though there are chat rooms for children, understand there's predators that can still access them. So you can say, yeah, I'm 15 and you're, a 45-year-old man, it's kind of just scary. Restrict access, make sure that they can't upload or download photos or documents without your permission. Because they type in keywords. Keywords to them could mean nothing. It could be something for their homework, and it comes up with these graphic pictures that they don't need to see, that they shouldn't be seeing. So that, that's putting those filters on the stuff that they can search. Inappropriate content. Kind of where I was going with that one. Talk to your children about proper online etiquette, identifying websites, entering safe search terms. Just having those filters that they can't access certain words. Certain words are blocked from them. And if it's something that they need for homework, well, then, they need to look it up a different way, or you need to be in there so they don't get access to those documents, those photos, those things that they shouldn't be looking at. Blocking the websites, blocking the pages. The kids with the emails, I guess it depends on the age. I'm thinking, 14 and younger usually don't have their own email, but maybe they do. I don't know. My daughter's got emails, but she's 26, so it's totally another thing. So make sure that they're not opening those emails. They don't know. Make sure that when you get an email, or if it's an email for them, maybe they should use your email, and you can go through those emails and decide which ones they should have access to. Make sure that they can't upload or download photos without your permission. Being around when they're doing the uploads. But you also, when you're looking through the emails, there's certain emails that are fishy that where would I get this email from? I don't recognize this address. That's an immediate flag. That's an immediate, no, delete that, block that, flag it to where that sender does not come through again. That way they won't have access to those, whatever type of information that they're trying to send over. And there's your warning signs for that. Becoming secretive with their device, putting a password on it where they never had a password before, where you could see their stuff before, and all of a sudden they don't want you to look at their phone. They don't want you to look at their device, their tablet or whatever. Hiding the screen, closing the windows when somebody gets near, shutting the laptop down, closing the screen down, changing passwords. It's just those certain little key things that and trust your child, but if something changes in their in their demeanor, you have to wonder what's going on, because some things had to have happened that these signs would have actually been something that they would be, you know, receiving emails from people you don't know, finding porn sites, adult chats, or other inappropriate sites in their browser history. That they shouldn't even have access to those. Those should be blocked. But somehow getting around it, somehow using some keywords that normally wouldn't show any content, but you can type in just about anything and get some kind of weird content. This Safe Hearts is it's a program within Damsel that they have for those kidversations, the ones that, how do I talk to my kid about this? How do I bring up that subject? How do I not make them scared to even say anything to me? So they have, I think, 10 different books, different topics. This one is, you know, when a peer sends in an inappropriate content online. And that opens up another, you know, another topic. Okay, you got this. What happened? Why? These books are actually in the kids' language. So it's not like the kids reading an adult book. They're reading something their level. The parent guide actually helps you go through how to start those topics where you're not just like, so I see you're reading weird stuff. It, you know, it kind of just brings them up to that. So you're not putting them on blast. You're not making them where they didn't want to mention anything to you ever. So that's something that that we do. Identity fraud. I've had this at least twice. Once on my ATM card, once on a credit card. This, and there's your stats. 33% of adults admit to sharing their login information with others. Now spouses, that they get the pass, that it's okay. But you know, oh, I went on vacation and I had an email that I was waiting for, so I gave it to my trusted friend. But my trusted friend left the login information on a piece of paper and somebody got a hold of it. And now I'm getting weird emails. I'm getting these kind of things. So most people will not do this, but 33% of us do. So 45 billion global credit card fraud losses will reach 45 billion by 2026. It's only 3 years away. 45 billion, billion with the B. Amazing. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States falls victim to identity theft. 2 seconds. 30 to 39 is the most common age for victims of identity theft. Because most of the time between that age group, you are established. You have your credit cards, you have your loans and stuff like that. You have your stuff together. So that doesn't surprise me with that age group, you know, and you know, the stats on the victims with identity theft. 1 billion child identity theft, almost hitting 1 billion. Amazing. I see these stats, it's like, it's reported stats. So remember, these numbers are reported. They may be higher, but having that baseline, it's kind of eye-opening on some of these. So how to protect yourself from fraud. Those strong passwords, you know, you have some of those sites that say, we need a capital, we need a symbol, don't use this symbol, don't use 2 words together, don't use numbers together and whatnot, make it jumbled. But you got to also remember, when you do those strong passwords, make sure you put them in a login book that you can only access, because sometimes you have sites that will have you change your you know, every 30 days, every 60 days. So that's something that you need to be mindful of. Hey, I need to change it. However, what was that last password, so I don't use it again and lock myself out of the account. Monitor your credit scores. You know, if you see something that just, you know, you had 800 credit score and all of a sudden you're down to a 500. What happened? Who got a hold of what? That's something that, I get Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, if something is awry, they'll send me a thing. Hey, check this out. Go on our site, check this out. See what's going on. My bank will call me. Hey, did you use this? Did you spend this? I just had a credit card that just had to get a new credit card because somebody somewhere got a hold of it and tried to put a charge through. But it happens. Doesn't happen, as often, but it's good to know your credit score, know your history, know your stuff. If you don't know the reputation of the company you're purchasing from, do your research. You'll see some companies you buy it through this company, but when they run your card, it's through a different company. Now, maybe because they're using a third party to run the cards, it may be, we don't know, just be mindful. A little funny story. So my daughter, she's out on her own. She's, living the apartment life, and she goes on to her bank statement and she's looking through it. Okay, everything looks good. Everything looks good. And she gets a $36 charge and she goes, well, I don't recognize the company. And I said, really? So she writes it down and she goes, Pagunga. I'm like, Pagunga? What country is that from? And she writes it down and it was PG&E. Learning the adulting life. It cracked me up. And I said, you didn't know? She goes, no, Mom, I don't know. This is new to me. This PG&E account's new to me. And I didn't recognize I didn't look at it as PG&E. I looked at it as Pagonda. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's PG&E. And water's going to say water. And she's like, yeah, thanks. But, it's things that you don't, you need to be mindful of. I've got this company, the garbage company, but it's Republic Service. And, what companies you're supposed to be, dealing with. So watch for common signs of identity theft, false information on your credit reports, missing bills or other mail. Everybody checks their mail. But, did the mailman drop a letter? Not going to blame him for it. It happens. Most people are doing online banking. I know I do as much online banking as I can, but I've also got it protected where I'm not going to have somebody get into my bank and wipe my bank out. So those are different things that can be done. So.
Our digital era puts us and our children at risk like never before. Criminals work tirelessly to gain access to our personal identity and financial information. These threats are all around us, but most of us aren't even aware of when we are at risk. To make things worse, other digital age threats like cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and harassment now affect millions of people every day. Oftentimes, these criminals use our own computers and mobile devices to gain uninvited access into our lives. Damsel in Defense is a company whose mission serves to protect people against the physical threats around them. Those threats are also online, and unfortunately, they aren't always visible. Digital defense is our complete solution for you and your family against those unseen dangers through a single, simple to use protection plan. Now you can rest easy knowing that not only your family's identity and credit, but also your computers, mobile devices, social media accounts, and more are protected against today's growing online threats. Digital defense by damsel in defense, because there's so much more in life to protect than just your identity.
Now, from all this information, I know it seems like a lot, but there's different facets to each of them, the online safety part, the cyberbullying, everything. What stuck out the most for each of you?
I think it was the social media related information as to, I think when we say, especially related to trafficking, how easy it seems to just start off unless the child is aware, unless the family is aware. A seemingly innocent conversation can turn unpleasant if we are not careful of what we put out there, the amount of information that is like shared, I think. I was kind of focusing there because I have a lot of family in that age group, and we have this conversation about Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, and you get follow requests, and that's an age where it feels good to have followers. I mean, when I started using Facebook, before that there was something called Orkut, and they got bought by Google or something. But it started off because your friends are now there. It is a very new thing back then, and you're supposed to write good things about each other, testimonials, and all that. And then you would get these groups to join, just like Facebook groups. So you'd never know. At that time, things were still not as freaky, I guess. So we would just join interested groups, which was public knowledge. And if somebody wants to know something about you, they just can. They don't even have to break into your account or anything, just by your interests, and they can kind of get an idea of your personality and actually try to befriend you or cause harm if they want. So I was talking to my nieces and my sisters-in-law, and we were all trying to figure out what would be the best way, cybersecurity, how to, and they're all their teens where, like you said, you don't want to keep looking into their phones, but also want to make sure that they're aware of what is the right amount of sharing, that it's okay to refuse a request. Initially, when they joined, they were like, okay, is it okay for me to refuse a request? Which seems fairly straightforward to us as adults. Like, yeah, if you don't know the person, you just refuse it. But at their age, seemingly straightforward decisions was something that we had to kind of discuss and see. If somebody asks you a question, you don't have to respond. You don't have to accept. Just be safe, and you don't have to tell your parents everything, but even if you're uncomfortable in a little bit, feel free to tell us, and then we can move from there. So that was definitely the cyberspace, occupying that space, spending an amount of time that they do, was my son is very young right now, but it was definitely eye-opening for me to see that current generation of parents
Mhm.
where kids are growing up with social media. And yes, the whole thing, yes.
Yeah, it definitely, when you look at the whole picture, you're like, wow, yeah, it all kind of ties in together, and it's, do I need to watch out for everything? Well, kind of sprinkle in a little bit. Okay, the online predator things. Only if you see something kind of actually come up weird. The identity theft thing, like I said, it could happen to more adults, obviously, than kids.
Mhm.
You know,
I once received an email from a friend, and it's so realistic because she would travel to the Middle East, and somebody says, hey, I'm in this country, but I've lost my wallet. Can you please transfer this amount? And I'm in distress. And I was like, and it was so, and this person said, I'm in this country. And the email actually came from her. But it's
Mhm.
like, okay, this person is not going to do this. She's
Right.
not going to run out of money. And then later, I still messaged on the same email address, and I said, are you okay? I'm receiving this information. Like, I did not send this email. So I just let her know that just send out an email. She was 74, and she said, I have a lot of older friends, and let me make sure that I tell them before they send out any information at all. So that was one of my kind of scary experiences where I was worried for somebody else purely because they were not used to emails, something that they learned later, and that there's an inherent trust of sometimes with online options like the internet or Facebook or WhatsApp information.
Yeah, it definitely, you get that weird email and you're like, this doesn't sound like you. This, I need to find out what's going on. Somebody hacked your email, change your password. First thing, change your password. And fortunately, sometimes you just gotta make sure that, you're not giving out too much information to people that you don't know personally. If you know them personally, it's another thing. You can always send them a text, give them a call, because most people don't call anymore. They text. So, anybody else have any things that kind of stood out for them?
Every year, my company has a security training, and I feel like I want to share that with my kids too, because they do talk about. It's more about emails and such, not so much about bullying, of course. But it's good to know, and it's good reminder every year to remember. I've been lucky. I have had identity theft. I believe it was many years ago, but I think I'm probably luckier than most because I've heard friends that would get their identity stolen, their credit card stolen. So my husband, he gets pings every time that his credit card is being used. I don't think I need that, but I can see why that is because it's so easy to steal stuff these days.
And the pumps, the gas pumps. Yeah, skimmer at the gas pumps, skimmers at the ATM.
Supermarket. Yep.
It
is such a hassle to change a credit card and then change all of the pays that you're already doing automatic pays and stuff like that. And then you got to check everything. I mean, you should check everything all the time anyways, but yeah, it's good refresh just to remember, be on your guard all the time.
Well, and it's not to make you paranoid, it's to make you mindful, hey, that's right. Ding, end of the month, I need to check my statements anyway, just to make sure that something didn't try to go through that they didn't call me about, the bank didn't call me about, the credit card didn't call me about, you know. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to make sure that your stuff isn't going out there. So your bank is there to back you up, your credit cards are there to back you up. But you know, you've got your backup, but you also got to be proactive too. So. Anybody else?
Hello,
Couple more.
can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I thank you so much for doing this course. It is super helpful. I also have been like victim of the identity theft regarding like credit cards. They got my address somehow. I still don't know how. But one of the things that, because I'm very careful with everything, but one of the things that a friend suggested that it could have been done that way is through Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, like at the airport, or so if you connect through that, especially here that we live like in the Bay Area, and so many people are like very tech savvy. They can access when you're sharing the same Wi-Fi or network connection. Some people can access to your computer or your information or even your phone if you connect through the phone. So that's something also to be careful with. And well, regarding credit, I have all like with the 3 credit bureaus, I have all my credit accounts freeze. I had to call and go online to unlock each one. That way they don't create new credit card accounts under my name. But yeah, it's been so painful. They open like 5 accounts and then they max out a couple of accounts. And it took me like 4 months to realize what they were doing. And then regarding the kids and social media, something that happened to me is that I don't let my kid use social media. She's 10 years old. So she doesn't have access to like WhatsApp or, you know, the well-known social media. But she liked to take pictures and edit them in a it's like a kawaii type of app for photo editing. And she was posting there without even realize that was like a social media for pictures. She thought it was just like editing. But then one day she showed me like some of the pictures that she edited, and then I started realizing like, oh, she's posting this. And by default, it is posting like to the whole world to see. And I enter and I noticed a lot of comments that were like so inappropriate. And like she didn't even see them because she didn't even realize what was she doing. But then I had to like close that account, delete everything, and explain to her like, okay, this is not just the editing, but when you are saving, it not only saves it in your phone, but automatically posts it. So there are so many things that, we think like, okay, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, but there are a lot that we don't even consider it as like social media, and the kids can get access through to those, even like without knowing.
Yeah, some of them will say, like when you sign up for the account, I state that I'm 13 years or older. And all I gotta do is change the birth date and you're 13 years and older. That's something that's needs to have a little more, I mean, how much information do you put into this to open an account? That's the other thing. It's like finding out, making sure you've got these legit things, and some of these social medias, they're, the Facebook, the Instagrams, the TikToks and all those, it's, those, oh, I'm following this person on this. What is that? So yeah, definitely keep an eye. Don't be the, don't make them not give you any help, get any information from them. So it's just a matter of just bringing up the conversation. Even if it's a casual one over dinner. Hey, so, so that way that doesn't look like you're attacking. You're going, yeah, you're doing this wrong.
Yeah, even with the video games, right? Because there's like a lot of like online gaming that they can do. And I remember during the pandemic that my kid was like playing Roblox and getting him some like common, I don't even know what, because I'm not a gamer. I don't play video games, but like she was getting into some rooms, right, to play some game, and they were
She dropped.
I was like, where'd she
Oh,
go?
she's coming. She's coming. She's back. Hi, Maria.
Oh, still connecting.
There she is.
Yeah.
I think she's here.
sorry about that.
No,
Yeah, no, like I remember like during the pandemic when my kid was like playing in those like Roblox rooms or Minecraft, and then yeah, you think they are like just playing with their friends, but you really don't know. You don't know who is there, how they can talk, what they can say. Yeah, I had to like keep an eye all the time on that.
Yeah, every once in a while, my husband will get on a video game, and I'm like, really? But you realize there are teenagers that are. He's like, yeah, I know. Because I just play it just to play. It's not being the creepy old guy. Because I just go on to play. He's just a video game nerd. He's a computer nerd. So let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, yes. So any questions? Anything that kind of jumps out at you that I don't have the answers? I can check into my resources and get answers.
Did Amazon Defense offer some sort of online safety guard or something like that?
They do. They do. They have what's called digital defense.
Okay.
So it's like a subscription, and they encompass all of your social medias and everything. And like how they show in the video, it'll alert you if cyberbullying is happening. It'll alert you with your identity theft. It'll alert you right away. It won't wait for hours, days. It's an instant reader.
Interesting. Thank you.
Mhm. And here's some of the resources for the presentation. This is where they got their information from. So it wasn't that they were pulling these numbers, just going, okay, let's take 10 of you, and how many of the 10 of you, these are actually the resources that they use to get their information. For some of these, I've never heard of DoSomething.org. Oh. Now, that's what they do when they're doing these presentations. They're also going full out. We're gonna get those resources. We're gonna get those resources that are trusted, not just some fly-by-night website that we're getting these numbers from. You know, when the first one is NBC News. But yeah, they really, they take pride in some of the topics. The home office team themselves, they're the ones that are putting these presentations together for us. They're the ones that are doing the research, and we are the educators. We're the safety educators. That's our job, is to bring this information out, because otherwise some of this stuff would just go right, you know, right under the door. Nobody, you know, when you see people, oh, this happened, oh, okay, well, here, this is why this happened, this is ways to avoid this happening, there's things to be mindful of. So it's more than just, here's the stats, here's the numbers, here it is and why, and here's how to avoid it and how. So and that's my new title now, Independent Damsel Pro Safety Educator. And that is the end of the presentation. I was like, I ran out of little slides. So
Thank you, Bobbie.
you're welcome. It's always a pleasure to get that information out, to educate everybody, as many people as I can educate. Matter of fact, next month when we're doing National Night Out, I don't know if you guys do it in your neighborhood. We used to do it. Now we're the ones hosting it this year. So we're going to be bringing out things like this, things like the vehicle safety, and just talking to the neighbors about that. Bringing out the information to them. So kind of looking forward to it. It's kind of funny. It's on my anniversary this year, so it's got to be different. Just how the timing works.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Have a good night.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Tammy. Thank you everyone for
you.
joining and
Everyone.
sharing the
Thank you
information.
for
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to get some information out to everybody and educate.
Yes. Have a good night.
Thank you
All
so
right, you too.
much. Good night.
Thank you.
right.
Bye. Good
All
night.
right, thank you. Bye.